We got to talk about Vladimir Putin for a second because he's traveling, he's jet setting, and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, says that if he travels, we're gonna nab him, we're gonna snatch him up, we're gonna take him, and we're gonna stick him in the slammer because of all of the bad stuff he's done. And really find that kind of hard to believe. I don't think the long arm of the law stretches that far. I mean, I guess like if Vladimir Putin was dumb enough to like take a trip to Cancun, then maybe we would nab him. But I'm not even sure we would do it then. Like, do we really want all out war? Is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna cloak and dagger. We're gonna put the bag over Putin's head and take him back to the ICC. I don't think that's happening, folks. I think it's all kind of show, like finger wagging, like you bad man, Vladimir Putin. We can't wait till you die, because he's old. He'll die eventually. The stress eating up that man alive. It must be a lot. It must be a lot to live like that, to be constantly under stress. But don't feel too bad for him. He's an evil dictator who kills people willy-nilly. People like journalists and people who protest against him. And I will say this too. Benjamin Netanyahu is facing all of these protesters, and he's like, ooh, gee whiz. Oh no. And that's how democracy is. You see, Benjamin Netanyahu was elected erroneously, I think, but he was elected, and I've hated him for 25 years. And now it looks like the public opinion has turned on him, and he can't do shit. If you did that in Putin land, then he would just kill all the protesters. Do you remember when he attacked Ukraine and there were some Russians who disagreed and took to the streets, and what happened to them? Yeah, neither does anybody else, because they all went to jail or were killed. That's what he did when someone spoke up against his war, his unjust war. Now, what's happening in Palestine and Israel? Say what you will about it. Say whatever you want about it. But the people of Israel are the ones that are going to decide what the future will look like. And I think we might have been seeing the turn of a tide here. But this is about Putin, not about Netanyahu. But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is the reason why I bring up Netanyahu is because Netanyahu isn't a dictator and Putin is. And I'm comparing Ukraine and what's going on there to what's happening in Palestine. Yeah, I'm comparing that.
Okay. How concerned is the White House for Vladimir Putin getting a red carpet welcome in Mongolia despite an arrest warrant of the ICC?
So that sounded like a German person asking her, "What are you doing in the Mongolia? The Putin went to Mongolia." So yeah, he went to Mongolia to have a meeting, and he got the red carpet treatment because Mongolia, right? I mean, you know that Mongolians. That's how Mongolians sing. It's awesome. Have you ever heard Mongolian music? It's all like it's really kind of fun to listen to. Putin is he's going to learn it. He's going to learn how to sing that way.
So look, so obviously we're aware of the visit of Putin's visit to Mongolia, and we've said this before, and I'll say it here: we don't believe any country should give Putin a platform to promote his war of aggression against Ukraine. There is no doubt that members of Russia's forces and other Russian officials are committing war crimes or other violations of international law in Ukraine. And we have been clear that those responsible must be held to account.
I hope you like this lady. Her name is Karine Jean-Pierre. She is going to be famous. We're going to see a lot of her coming up in the future. I have a very strong feeling that she is going to be tremendously famous. And maybe she'll learn some Mongolian throat singing too. She'll be a big hit. But I think she handles this question pretty well. Like, hey, we're against this shit, this war of aggression. Now, I do wonder why we platform Benjamin Netanyahu. Again, I think Israel has the right to defend herself, but we are platforming Benjamin Netanyahu, who may or may not be a war criminal, and he is probably he is definitely a criminal, though. Like, they're gonna arrest him as soon as he leaves office. Like it's not looking good for old BB. So I mean, why are we platforming the guy? He spoke to our Congress. I mean, that's not a good look. That's not a good look at all. Why are we doing this? Like, I think we should support Israel, but not support this despot. Not to support Netanyahu, use our influence and get rid of him finally. Maybe we would have seen peace in the Middle East if Netanyahu wasn't in charge. Like that's very, very possible. Look it up. Look up the money that Benjamin Netanyahu gave to Hamas. Think about that for a second. So it seems a little like pot calling the kettle black here. But this is about Putin. It's not about Netanyahu.
We expect that Mongolia will adhere to its commitment and support for the principles of the UN Charter, including
What, Mongolia is going to support the UN Charter? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're going to go to war with? What are we going to do about it, Mongolia?
sovereignty and territorial integrity, and convey that these principles must be upheld across the world, in Europe as it is in Asia. So that's what we want to see. Gotcha.
Thanks a lot, Karine.
Well, that's that. What do you think? Do you think that there's anything we can do about Mongolia licking the boots of Vladimir Putin? I mean, Mongolia is that kind of like forgotten child of Asia. When was the last time Mongolia was in the news? This is their time in the sun. They're probably feeling great about this right now. They're like, wow, everybody's knowing about Mongolia now. They're probably going to enjoy a huge influx of Russian tourists, other Eastern European tourists to Mongolia. Come to beautiful Mongolia. Free throat singing lessons with every flight. They could do all sorts of really cool events. Like they're probably got to hold the tourism board is probably like on fire, like the phones are ringing, baby, like those old school phone banks, because that's what they got in Mongolia. They just got phones in Mongolia. They just now got them. And I'm not talking these phones. I'm talking like the corded phones, like this phone right here. They're like this. They're on the phone. They're like, hello? Oh, what? You're coming to Mongolia? Thank you so much. We're going to throat singing lessons? Yes, throat singing lessons for free. Hello? They can't keep it up. They can't even keep the phone. The phone is ringing off the hook is what I'm trying to say in Mongolia right now. This is a big deal for Mongolia. This is their time, baby. So eat it up, Mongolia. I think you probably made the right decision hosting Putin. I mean, at the end of the day, there are three worlds again. I thought that the third world, first world, second world thing was over, but never forget what that means, okay? Don't forget what that means. First world, that's America and all our friends, cronies, our cronies. We're ensconced together. We got first world. Then we got the second world. It was so great. We got to have it two times. We got the second world. That is Russia and all of her friends, right? Those are all like, all the good friends. It used to be Yugoslavia, places like that. But now the second world's smaller now, baby. It's like Russia, China, North Korea. Like there aren't that many. Don't call them axis of evil. That's stupid. That's so childish. First world is America and all our buddies. Second world is Russia and all their buddies. And the third world are the ones too small to matter and they get bullied around by the first and the second world. That's what that is. The third world, or the developing nations as we call them now to be PC, but they're not developing nations, are they? They're nations that we use to influence, or that we influence in order to stick it to Russia. Places like Afghanistan, places like most of the countries in the Middle East, we will use them in order to fight Russia or the second world, right? That's how we have proxy wars. That's why there was a Cold War. That's the whole thing. Mongolia's they're just seeing the writing on the wall before everybody else. They're looking at it. They're like, looks like we're back in the Cold War. Dang it. What are you going to do? Let's do it. Thank you so much, Mongolia. You've been great. It's nice knowing you. I'll be if we had our Mongolian if Mongolia was in the first world and was like inviting our president around and being like, yo, we love war criminals, I'd be like, I'm going to go get me some throat singing lessons. Wouldn't that be